The myth of Medusa has captivated us for almost 3,000 years. Today, her image still commands instant recognition around the world.
The Medusa that we often see depicted on vases features a woman with boar's tusks, snakes curling around her head instead of hair. Sometimes she is bearded. Very often she's grimacing, facing us directly with her tongue lolling out of her mouth and her eyes staring straight at you.
In ancient Greece, myths made sense of a confusing world. Their stories recorded history, explained nature, and dictated how people should live. The Medusa myth was no exception.
They teach lessons to the society and help them organize things. And I think the Medusa story gives us a window into just certain kinds of values in ancient Greek society. It surely gives a sense of kind of a rich portrait of men's experience insofar as they may well have felt at some point in their lives completely under the spell of some bewitching type of woman.
Medusa can crush a man with a single penetrating look. It is a power that makes her nearly invincible.
The Medusa myth awakens a number of fears in people, especially men. This image of the all-powerful woman whose gaze can't be averted, whose gaze can see right through you to expose everything inside of you, that can freeze you in your tracks and somehow devour you and consume you. And I think men in particular are very afraid of this sort of strong woman.
To the ancient Greeks, Medusa's deadly image was one of the most terrifying in all of mythology. But she was not always a monster. According to the myth, Medusa was once a ravishing woman. Every man in Greece wanted to possess her.
What she's described as is she's a beautiful woman with long, flowing locks of hair. Every suitor wants to marry her. She causes envy among everyone.
But Medusa can't get married. She is a priestess of Athena, the goddess of war, and bound by an eternal vow of chastity.
Athena is the patron goddess of the great city of ancient Athens. She's also a virgin goddess. Sex is not a part of her world. She's actually beyond the reach of any male desire.
Servants in her temple would have been expected to be virginal, so they could devote their energies not to domestic issues and child rearing, but to the goddess's service.
Medusa, the hideous image of evil, starts out as a symbol of purity. But after Poseidon raped her, Medusa's world changed forever.
The Medusa story is a tragedy because she wasn't even the perpetrator of the deed. It was Poseidon who raped her in Athena's temple, but she's then turned into a hideous monster.
In the myth, the goddess Athena curses Medusa without warning. She begins an agonizing transformation, clawing desperately at her face. Her skin cracks and withers, and her long, silken hair becomes a writhing mass of poisonous snakes. Medusa's horrific transformation is almost complete. But there's one more twist.
She's now going to have to undergo the most powerful and most gut-wrenching of all the aspects of her curse. She'll have to be now a person whose very sight turns the looker into stone. It's now going to isolate her from all of human society. Medusa is now no longer going to have any interactions with anyone else. So what Athena has effectively done is consign this poor girl to a kind of solitary confinement for the rest of her life.
For the tragic crime of being raped, Medusa has lost her status, her beauty, and her ability to look at anyone without killing them. Now, the final blow. She is banished to a remote and desolate island for life. In the myth, Medusa has a price on her head. Warriors from across the Greek world travel to her remote island, seeking to steal it and use its petrifying power as a weapon against their enemies. So far, all who have tried made the same fatal mistake. They looked at her first. But one hero is determined to break her spell. As Medusa languishes among her statues, Perseus is coming of age across the sea. When he was a baby, he and his mother Danae were cast out to sea by his grandfather, King A+E. Mother and son were expected to die. But Perseus's divine father, Zeus, protected them. They washed up on an island called Seriphos and settled there.
He grows up into a nice, strapping young lad, as it were, very strong and also very strong-willed and very protective of his mother.
Perseus has a very good reason to feel protective. The ruler of Seriphos has plans for his mother.
The king of Seriphos was not enthusiastic about having Perseus around, partly because he had his eye on Danae, who is still a young woman and beautiful, and he wanted to marry her.
The king hatches a plan to take Perseus out of the picture. He demands an expensive gift from all of his subjects and vows to banish any who don't comply. He knows that Perseus is poor and won't be able to deliver.
Perseus says, well, I may not be able to buy a great gift because I'm poor, but I'm going to do something that no one else has been able to do. I will bring you the head of Medusa.
It's a suicide mission. No one has ever returned from Medusa's island alive. But for Perseus, there's no turning back. He stands at the threshold of Medusa's deadly lair. The gods helped him get here, but the rest is up to him.
All that's around Medusa is rocks, very hard things. Anything that would have been living would have been turned to stone. So it must have been a very bleak and desolate place.
Perseus is frightened as he takes the first steps toward his fate. But they are not steps forward. The young hero is slowly creeping backwards.
Perseus is very smart, and he realizes that trying to attack Medusa head-on would be his own undoing. He'd be turned to stone. So what he does instead is get his shield, turn it round, and actually approach her from behind. And he walks up to her backwards, looking at her in his shield so that he's safe. You can imagine the tension building as he gets closer and closer. As far as he knows, the shield will protect him, but he must not have really known for sure.
At last, Perseus locks onto his target. Closes his eyes and swings his sword. With one clean stroke, the head of Medusa rolls to the floor. Her years of torment and isolation are finally over.
There would have been great fascination for Medusa among ancient audiences, and whether they were rooting for her or rooting against her, there would have been a great kind of sympathy for this poor, poor person. I mean, think about what she'd been through and all that she'd lost and the horrible life she was fated to live, and then her endpoint is to have a hero chop her head off.
It is a tragic end for a tragic figure. But Medusa's story doesn't end here.
One of the remarkable things about Medusa's head is even after she is dead, even after it's been removed and stuffed in a bag, it still has the power to transform anyone who looks on it to stone.
When Perseus returns to Seriphos and sees that his mother is about to marry the king, he becomes very angry. So he lifts up the head of Medusa and says, "King, I have brought you your gift."
One glance turns the king to stone, his face frozen in an eternal scream.